6 years ago, my wife and I made the bravest decision of our lives. We made the decision to leave our beautiful island of Jamaica to this North American paradise called Canada. We've never traveled outside of Jamaica before, and safe to say, we've made a lot of mistakes trying to transition into a new country. In this video, I will be sharing with you guys 6 mistakes we made as a new immigrant in Canada, which we believe delayed our progress. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another reasoning. In this video, I will be sharing with you guys 6 mistakes I made when I was a new immigrant in Canada. Now my hope is, if you are moving to Canada in the near future, or if you have recently moved to Canada, you will not make the same mistakes that I made, right? Use this as your example so you don't have to try the same path, and you can start your Canadian journey on better footing than me and my family did back in 2019. So if you guys are new here, please take a second to hit that subscribe button, smash a like on the video, and let me know, can you relate to any of these mistakes if you have been in Canada a while, or if I was just bad lucky to make these mistakes? Me know right down below. Now let's get into it. Number 1, the first mistake that I made as a new immigrant in Canada was thinking I didn't need anyone advice or support, thinking that I could have done everything on my own. And a lot of new immigrants fall into this trap. We are very independent, and our pride sometimes don't let us ask for help. We always feel like we can take on the journey ourselves and we don't need nobody, and so forth, so on. But let me tell you guys this. If you want to know a road that you have never traveled before, the best way to know that road is to ask somebody who have traveled that road. Don't let your pride get into the way of asking for help. I was very prideful when I just started my journey because I wanted to prove to myself and to others around me that I could do this on my own. Even though when we landed, we didn't have much financial resource, and so forth, so on. But we decided that we're going to take on the journey by ourselves and not really seeking out to get the advice and help and support that would have proved vital in the long run. So if you guys are here and you're new, the best way to start your Canadian journey is to equip yourself with all the advice and information that can make your journey as smooth as possible. Don't fall into the same trap that I fell into. The second mistake I made was taking out a car on credit when we just landed. Now, even though we tried to justify the reason why we did it, and really and truly, I don't think we had a choice in my mind, but I believe that that was a mistake. It was a mistake because you're transitioning to a new country and you want to be able to save as much money as possible so you can transition as best as possible. When you're trying to transition and then you give yourself this enormous car payment because when you're new here, you don't have much credit, and these car dealerships are gonna rip you off. It's just how it is, and we were ripped off. So we ended up in a situation where we were paying close to $800 a month for car payment alone. And as I said, we tried to justify it because we had Malika and we needed to go point A to point B, and taking the bus was an hassle, and we couldn't walk everywhere, so we needed a car. But in retrospect, if I could go back in time, I would have suffered a little bit more, save some money, save all that money, and then get a car, a used car for probably $3,000 or $4,000. That's how I would have started my Canadian journey. Now, if you guys are like me, who don't feel like you have a choice, if you have children and so forth, so on, my advice to you is to stick it out a little bit longer. The car payment is going to be over your head. You're going to have to make that payment. And if you just suffer through it a little bit longer, you can save all those money and then put down on a car. Get a used, reliable car, and then you don't have any car payment on that car, and then you will be a lot freer, right? Don't fall into the same trap. If you can get yourself a used car for your first car in Canada, that's the best advice I would give to you guys, right? Don't feel compelled to take a car loan, to take out a car on payment, and so forth, so on. And also, if you're gonna take a car on payment, get a used car. Don't get a brand new car. It's very easy for you guys to get a brand new car off the dealership as long as you have okay credit and you have income. But it's a trap. right? Do not fall into the trap. Save and try get yourself a beaters to start your Canadian journey. After you have transitioned and saved some money and can live the way or you want to live, then you can go and take out a car straight after that. Don't make the same mistake. I know I'm only number 2 on my list so far, but if you have gotten any value from this video so far, please let me know by hitting that like button. Let me know by leaving your comments down below, and most important of all, let me know by subscribing to the channel and share this video to a friend or a family member who is about to start their own Canadian journey as well. Now let's continue the list. Number 3 on my list is not opening an investment account as soon as I was eligible. Now, I've done videos where I've shared the different types of investment accounts, your tax-free savings accounts, your RRSP, and so forth, so on. Now, as a new immigrant in Canada, if you haven't filed your taxes as yet, you might not be able to open an RRSP plan. But you can open a tax-free savings account because the contribution limit for the year is the same for everyone. I wish I'd opened one as soon as I landed in Canada and started a pre-authorized contribution to go directly into mutual funds. Now, the reason why that is so important is it comes off your salary before you even see the money, and then that money is going into mutual funds and it builds over time, right? So just get it out the way, and then if you're here 6 years, 10 years later, you would have been saving all that money in mutual funds for 6 or 10 years in the past, and then you have a lot more than you potentially have right now, when many of us are just getting into the habits of investing and saving. So if I could go back in time, I would have opened an investment account as soon as I was eligible. That was the third mistake that I made. Don't make the same mistake. As soon as you're eligible, go and open an investment account. Take it from me, your favorite neighborhood banker. Number 4, and this list is personal mistakes that I made. This is not some fictitious list that is just hypothetical. These are mistakes that I made, right? So don't fall into the same trap. Number 4 is when we moved from an apartment and then we moved into a house. Now, I have always been the person who is always trying to help everybody, who is always trying to save the world, and oftentimes it come at an expense of my own stability or my family's stability. And then in retrospect, you look back and be like, it wasn't worth it. Now, a couple years ago, like probably 2 years after being here, we were living in an apartment. We lived there for 2 years. It was okay. It was just our family. We were good. But then we decided to move from that apartment that was very affordable and everything was good to move into a larger house. If you guys been following our journey, you guys would have known that story and why we decided to do that. I won't get into that right now. But we made that decision consciously to go into a house. Now, when you move from an apartment to move into a house, right? You have so much more expense to pay, because in an apartment, especially where we were living, heat and water was included. The only thing we had to pay was a little power bill and also internet, and everything else was included. And then we picked up ourselves 2 years after being here, moving to a house, paying more expensive rent, paying water, paying power, paying gas, paying internet, and all of these factors. And then ultimately we're spending a lot more than we were saving as well. That is a mistake, because I don't think we were in a position at the time to move, or it wasn't a case where we were uncomfortable. Now, we all want comfort, and for me, one of my biggest comfort is having outside space. I like to be outside. I like to be in my backyard or in my front yard or the side of my yard. In an apartment, you don't get that, right? In an apartment, you don't necessarily get that, and in a house, you do get that. But sometimes you have to sacrifice comfort for financial stability, and that was what I didn't do at the time, because low-key, even though we were trying to support the persons who were coming, we also wanted that backyard space and so forth, so on, because that would have given us comfort. But again, sometimes you have to choose financial stability over comfort. Short-term pain, complete the rest. long-term gain. So if I could go back in time, we would have stayed in our apartment and then helped the other person to get their own apartment as well. So they would have had their own space, we would have had our own space, and we wouldn't have the additional expense of covering a house per se. So that was one of the biggest mistakes we made throughout our Canadian journey as an immigrant, especially within the first couple of years after moving to Canada. If you guys have any similar experience as well, please let me know right down in the comment section, right? Now, the fifth mistake that I personally made was falling into the Canadian system, the Canadian culture of living paycheck to paycheck throughout my earlier years as an international student, and then even shortly after completing school. It's like you fall into the culture of just living paycheck to paycheck when we're living in a country where you can hustle and create so much side hustle and side businesses that can generate more income for you to live a more comfortable life. But sometimes we get so comfortable in our situations, we allow that comfort to stifle our ambition. Robert Kiyosaki, comfort destroys ambition. So one of my mistakes, especially when we landed, was in COVID. So throughout that COVID period of time, even though it was a devastating time for a lot of families and persons as individuals, it also generated a lot of opportunity for persons to create businesses, for persons to create additional income, and so forth, so on. I don't believe that we actually leveraged that as much as we should, and then we ended up living paycheck to paycheck for a long period of time, especially as a new immigrant. Nuts got laid off, we started living on EI, and so forth, so on, when all we needed to do was to just be more proactive and more innovative in finding different ways to generate additional income so that we didn't have to live paycheck to paycheck. And that's one of the mistakes that I made throughout my infancy journey as an immigrant in Canada. Last on the list, guys, and this is a common mistake, and this is a mistake that I'm trying to correct right now as we speak. We haven't gotten the final result yet. We don't know exactly how we're gonna fix this mistake yet, but we're still working on it. And this is a common mistake that a lot of immigrants make, not just new immigrants, but immigrants who have been in Canada for years and decades, and even immigrants in the US and UK, etc. And that mistake is simply not investing in my home country of Jamaica. Being so comfortable in building a life here in Canada, getting assets here in Canada, transitioning here in Canada, and then totally forgetting about my homeland, right? And as I said, it's a mistake that we're still trying to fix. We should have been investing more in Jamaica, owning homes in Jamaica, so forth, so on. And that's something that we're trying to fix right now. So if you are an immigrant here in Canada, don't fall into the trap. Yes, Canada is our new home, and this is where we're raising our families, and so forth, so on. But guess what? Home will always be home. So make sure that you're investing in your home country as well, in your birth country as well, right? Make sure that you're doing that, so you give yourself and even your family or your kids the option in the future of choosing where to live, and so forth, so on. We love Canada, and we're building in Canada. We're attaining assets in Canada, and we are contributing to the Canadian economy, to the Canadian society. And investing in your home country is not a betrayal to the Canadian society. It's more an investment in yourself. So that's one of the biggest mistakes that we made and continue to make until we fix it, right? So there you have it, guys. 6 mistakes I made as a new immigrant in Canada that significantly slowed down my progress and made things a lot harder than it should have been, right? If you guys can relate to anything that I've said in this video, please comment right down below and let me know. Smash a like on the video if you have gotten any value at all from this video. Share it with a friend or a family member who is moving to Canada, who has recently moved to Canada, so they don't make the same mistakes. Subscribe to the Anderson's Family channel, and I will see you guys in the next video.